Now, the ANC has had significant challenges in recent years, and the outcome of the approaching local government elections could prove interesting. The ruling party had enjoyed the majority of votes for years now, but indicators show its support has been slipping and advantage, in fact, once again, the advantage is enjoyed by other political parties. City Press editor-in-chief Mondli Makhanya compares the ANC, Africa's oldest liberation movement, to what happened in Zambia to the party of the father of the country's independence, the late Kenneth Kaunda. He joins me now to unpack the state of the ANC. Mondli, thank you so much for making time. So the ANC hasn't paid its staff, it's bungled its candidate registration, it's broke. One wonders if they even have money to campaign. You are saying this is the ANC on its road to the cemetery. Why do you believe so?
Well, if you look at what has happened to other parties, other liberation movements and other parties which have been in control for a long time, that once they go into decline, the decline becomes irreversible. We will look, for instance, the example that was used was was UNIP, the party of Kenneth Kaunda in Zambia. The party was in power for several decades, and then in 1991, when the first open democratic elections were held since the 70s, UNIP lost power to Frederick Chiluba's party. And then what happened there is that since then, UNIP has been losing, and to the point where the only place where they could hold on to any political power at all, or to be represented, was at the municipal government level. And in this last election that we saw last month in August, UNIP could not even get a single representation in Parliament, and the president was trounced outrightly. He only managed to get 3,000 votes out of about 2.something million votes that were cast. So it does happen that when liberation movements lose power, we've seen it in India, for instance, the Congress party there, it's battling to come back to power. We've seen it in Mexico. PRI also is in exactly the same situation. So the ANC, since 1999, the ANC had more than two-thirds majority. And in the last election, the ANC managed to get 57%. It could not hold on to the big metros without going into coalitions. So it is definitely in decline. And what we saw also in 2019, that the ANC barely held on to Gauteng. So it's likely that by the time you get to 2024, the ANC may be forced actually to get into coalitions in order to stay in government. And in 2029, when we go to the next elections, it's doubtful whether the ANC will still be power by then. But in addition to that, it also internally, it is disintegrating, it is collapsing. You've seen the many different fights that happen within the ANC, and it's not small fights, it's hectic fights for the soul of the party. And then the debacles that you've had of late, that the party are unable to pay its own staff. I mean, for months, two months, South Africa's biggest political party is unable to pay staff. And then the bungle that happened around the elections. I mean, one would never have countenanced that the governing party, the ANC, this colossus that was once the ANC, would not be able to register candidates in time.
Yeah, so some people will argue that, well, predicting the end of the ANC dominance has been happening for some time now. I mean, many articles, you will know, have been written about how the ANC is now imploding. This is from many years ago. And one wonders, how long is this road to the cemetery, Mondli? Or do you think the issue here is what you actually said at the end of your opinion piece in the City Press, that the ANC's descent to irrelevance will not be as immediate and dramatic? The funeral dirge is being hummed as the procession leaves for Avalon Cemetery. That the end to this dominance is going to happen, but it's not going to happen as dramatic.
Did I say that? Are you sure?
Yeah, you did. I just read from your last line.
Yeah. Yeah, no, look, I mean, like the descent of the ANC has been happening since 2007. I think let's mark the descent from the time Jacob Zuma was elected president of the ANC in 2007. What then followed was in 2009, when by 2009, the ANC had already split because, I mean, it was a small split and people went off to COPE. COPE didn't do that great because we know what happened to COPE. And then in 2013, the EFF was also was formed as a split from the ANC, but since then its electoral fortunes have been declining. But not only its electoral fortunes, but also internally, it is in a permanent state of crisis and chaos. Branch meetings descend into big fights. You'll find provincial conferences are not held on time. The Youth League has not been able to convene its conference. So it is happening. And as I say, by 2024, when you get to the 2024 elections, the ANC will have to make friends in order to remain in power. And by 2020, and the next local government elections that you will find after this year's ones, you'll find that the ANC will actually be losing a lot of support in the metros. I think in this coming October 27 elections, whenever between October 27 and November 1, ANC will probably perform worse than it did in 2016, and again will be forced to ask other smaller parties to help it to remain in power. So the decline is accelerating. It's not, as I said, it's not immediate, it's not cataclysmic, but it's now a lot faster than it was a few years ago. And once it's out of power, it will be out of power really forever.